welcome back. Well, I'm still waiting for engine parts to roll up, so I thought I may as well crack on and get on with these side covers. So there's the stock XJ650 side cover I put on there for a bit of inspiration, I suppose, and it didn't really help. So I got some paper out, started marking it up, and what I want is I don't want to just fill in this triangle. I want it to flow with the curves of the tank and the seat. So I just put some paper here. You can see those lines are to line up with the curve of the base of the tank. So I just mark it out roughly first, just sort of freestyling, designing this as I go along. Get the grinder out. I'm using 1mm mold steel. I could have done this the easy way, I suppose, and use fiberglass, but I like metal, and I just felt like that was the right thing to do for this build. So here's this curve following the tank, and what I do is you can see here I'm filing it, and I'm not actually filing it straight. So you see in a moment there's a little bit of a curve, and that's going to help just follow that curve that's also in the tank. So once that's filed, I'll take my time and I just bend over the corner or the edge there, because I don't want it to be a sharp edge. So, and because it's curved, you can't really do it in a bender, and I don't have a bender anyway. So I've just got a solid bench, and I'm just peening over probably the last 2 or 3 mil of that edge, and it seems to turn out pretty good. Once I've done that, I put it back on the bike to see what it looks like, and start marking out the top edge as well to get it to fit properly, and the rear so it fits up in the profile of the frame. Now here what I'm starting to do is think about that top edge and how I'm going to blend that into the frame and the base of the seat. So I just mark it off, and what I do is then start creating a bit of a curve in that top section of the cyber to follow the profile and to help it sort of blend into the frame and match up to the seat properly. So it sort of curves both ways, if you know what I mean, in and outwards at the back. So I mess about with this a bit, keep trial fitting it and seeing what it looks like, bend over that front edge, and I start with a smaller bend, and it ends up being quite a bit bigger than that in the end, and you'll see in a moment as I just keep pinning it over, gradually panel beating it to get it to fit properly and sit up against that edge of the frame. And at this point, you know, that top part is looking really good. You can see the bottom left corner there follows the profile of the tank, the rear edge follows the frame, and it's sitting pretty well along the base of the seat. So I just keep working on that top edge, and you can see just in that left hand corner there, I need to put a little piece in there to get that top bend to blend in properly. So just TIG weld, as I said, it's 1mm mold steel. You know, it's not super thin, but it's not thick either, so it does take a bit of patience when you're TIG welding something this thin. There's that top edge, it's looking really good. What I do now is just grind a little bit off of that rear to get it to fit on the inside of the frame properly. So again, just have a look at it here. And that right hand side, what I want to do is radius it around so that it again doesn't have a sharp edge. So I'll get another bit of metal, and it's one of the things when you make something like this out of metal that's like a 3-dimensional shape, you really just got to cut a number of pieces and panel beat them and join them all up. So here I'm just marking it off to make sure that that edge is going to have the right profile. I grind it, panel beat it around, as you see here, to create that radius, tack it together, and once it's tacked, I just turn it over, panel beat it a little bit with the peening hammer, and just try to get that radius to blend in properly. And that radius also follows exactly the profile of the frame, and I'm allowing, you know, like a 2 or 3 mil clearance on the back there. So once I have enough tacks there to hold it together, I just get the peening hammer and take my time, just smooth out that radius properly. And I just do that over that bit of pipe that's sitting there, and it just helps, later, that I only need just a really light skim of body filler to smooth this whole thing out. So just paint it over really nice, get a nice smooth radius, and once I've done that, what I do is just run a full TIG weld around that edge. And then once it's welded, I just smooth it out with a flapper wheel. And it's a bit of work, but all of these sort of things are you just got to have some patience, take your time, and anything's possible. So again, when you're TIGging something this thin, you really need to have it mated up really well. So you literally don't want any gap. And you can imagine all these profiles. You do need to take your time, because if you have too much of a gap, or you don't prepare the metal properly, it's just going to turn out to be a nightmare. So there it is, welded. Quick cleanup, and this is starting to look awesome. Well, that's pretty much the top of the side cover done, and what I want to do now is I'm just doing this small strip on about a 45-degree angle, and this will follow the profile of the base of the tank. So I just tack it on and then mark it off, and then cut it before fully welding this piece in. So you can see it here, it's tacked, and get a bit of an idea. It's probably about 20 mil. And once I've got that, the bottom bit here is just going to be a flat piece. Just marking off now with a bit of paper as a rough template. And the idea of that piece there, I'll actually just paint black. And the top bit of the side cover, I'll paint whatever colour I decide for the bike. So I want the bottom bit to be covered, but look like, it's not there. So it still needs to cover the battery and the electronics and that I'm going to have inside that area. So here it is, it's getting very close now. There's that bottom bit welded on. And all that's left to do now is fully weld that, give it a good clean up, and then make a couple of brackets to hold it together. So just doing the final welding at this point here. I'm super happy with the way these turned out. It was quite a bit of work. I still need to duplicate this on the other side, but I think the effort was worth it. So finishing the welds off, I get the flapper wheel again, clean it all up, and it's pretty much done. So hopefully the next video I will get to do the engine. The spare parts are just taking so long now with the whole lockdown thing going on. So it's been nearly 5 weeks. So got some parts coming from Japan. I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe somebody's just got them rowing them over or something. I don't know what's happening. So anyway, here's the final cleanup of the side cover. Just cleaning all the welds. I will put a slight skim of body filler on there before I paint it, but you can see it really doesn't need much. It's come up pretty neat, and I'm very happy with the way it's turned out. And it's the way I like to do things, actually, is just freestyle. When I'm not 100% sure what I want, I'd rather just start something and then just work my way through it as I go along. So there's a little barb I made too. Just put that in the lathe, spun it, just so that the top left side there will be a push-in fit like it is standard. And then I'm putting 2 little brackets on the back. So just welding this to the frame here, and I'll be able to get those bolts off just from around the back of the frame, so you won't be able to see them, and it shouldn't be too hard to get them out either. So all good, that's that side done. It's fitted up really nice, and I'll give you one last look at it here, and you can see that bottom profile. You can imagine how that follows the fuel tank. It's all fit in really nice, and worked out as good as I could have hoped. Stay tuned.